two, one. All right, welcome back to the Godfrey Universe podcast. I am dumpster diving Dan over here. I am, for those who can't see, I am unshaven.
Is
My
is
hair
I
is
am
off.
dumpster fire, Dan.
Yeah, I am unshaven. My hair is a bird's nest, and I'm wearing a beat up, torn up Soundgarden shirt because I just had a kid, and among other things, and I haven't left my house in like a month. Anyway, I'm a co-creator of the Godfrey universe with Josh here,
Hey, everybody.
and today, because I don't think Josh has seen this video, but I figured we would start with it, um, and go
Is
from.
so is it the one where they're talking about Disney's groundbreaking plan?
No, this was the
Oh, okay.
the TikTok chick. I don't think I can
Okay,
share
no,
it.
I hadn't seen this. I hadn't seen this.
Um, I don't think I can share it with you. Let me send you a link to it real quick, and then I'll show it for everybody here. All right, pull that up without volume because I don't want it to blast through everything. But I'll show it here.
All right. Sounds good.
And it's really, 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 really weird. But we're gonna go into this. Let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, I'm watching it.
All right. So what's worse is like the sounds she's making are like computer game robot sounds. But like, what's funny is I saw something like this like on Instagram or something not too long ago, and then like this got national attention just now. Like everybody's talking about it. It's really weird that like there's a lot of these girls that have just like adopted. They're moving like they're CGI Disney characters. Like
Hmm.
humans often
Yeah,
like
yeah.
cosplays. Like humans often like replicate the things they like. Um, the things that have been made, but like this is really weird because it's something that like humans made that now live human beings are now imitating. It's just highly disturbing because there's nothing
Yeah,
natural.
it is really weird. And like I've seen similar stuff where like you'll see people that do videos where they walk around as though they were GTA characters or NPCs,
Yeah,
and
but
they'll
that's
walk
usually
into the
funny.
walls and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah, but that's a different level of it, and that is bizarre, uh,
it's
and just
creepy.
out of touch with reality for sure. But yeah, that's strange. Which I mean, if that's your thing, I guess that's your thing. But yeah, that's weird.
Well, what's weirder is like you can find a bunch of those. I'm not gonna get in a rabbit hole, but like there's some ones that are like even more advanced. The weirdest part is the sounds they're making because
Hmm.
they sound like computer game NPCs where you push the button too quickly. Like they've mastered that, and
Hmm.
it's just so weird to see something so blatantly. I'm gonna use this term a lot. Artifice, like it's like someone constructed their body movements to something unnatural. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, and people are liking it, and it's not just ironic.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how a lot of things are, and that's what I wanted to talk about, particularly as we always go into art and stuff, because art's important. But there's a difference between art and artifice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is kind of a continuation of stuff we've gone into before, but I think I can articulate it a little bit better. I think you can too. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're living in an age of artifice. Like that's the future. Like that is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. Like if we keep going down this path, people imitating AI basically. Like artists are gonna start imitating AI and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. People are gonna imitate CGI, and a lot of this stuff we can get into these topics, but I know like the writer's strike and the actor strike's happening. I think under the surface, what we're going to see probably is Hollywood trying to replace, because I've already heard rumors of this. Like people come in and they do like a body scan of them and a voice scan, and
Mm-hmm.
they just want their image, and then they
Right.
can yeah
That's what I was told. But the video I had seen was where Disney is, and they promoted it to their company as like a big, like groundbreaking new plan. But yeah, they want to hire an actor to come in and work and get paid for 1 day, and all they're doing is getting their likeness so that they can use it for all of eternity without having to ever pay them another penny, and just create an AI version of those performers for backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah, you really get into the old superstition. We're fulfilling the prophecy of the camera stealing your soul.
Yeah, for real. And like it's just that idea too of like there's no ethics anymore because I hope that most people would look at that and think, well, that's just morally wrong,
It's Black Mirror.
But it's really creepy that it didn't take us very long to arrive at this point.
Mm-mm.
Like we got here so fast, and then that makes you wonder, like, what's next? Like how much they can already completely replicate people's voices. Like they've already had like AI create new songs by artists who are dead.
Yeah, they're just terrible.
And but it's convincing though. Is what's crazy is like it looks and sounds like it's real.
Yeah, I heard the Johnny
It's
Cash Barbie
really
girl or
weird,
whatever.
man. Yeah, it's really weird how convincing it is.
Yeah, it stills your timbre and pronunciation pretty well.
Yeah, and what we end up with is something that's like almost the reversal of the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Or a deeper valley, an uncanny Mariana's Trench or something. It's so weird to me. And you'll have moments when you'll see something, you'll see an image, and and you don't know what's off about it until you look at it for a second, and then something in you knows that I'm not looking at a real person.
Mm-hmm.
But it really does take a while to figure out why does this not look real to me. It's weird, man. It's creepy. I
Yeah,
don't like it.
well, Instagram filters have been doing that for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
and that's what's so strange. It's like that the more you pour into the artifice, the less of an artist you are, and the less of a person you are. Like, I guess we've talked about this before, but AI for art is really going to make people admit that there must be something divine about the human being. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just wipe yourself out and
Right.
be replaced? Now, we're in a. I thought about this today because if a machine can replace a human, there's never been anything special about humans, and that philosophy goes all the way back a long time, but especially the last century. That's what led to fascism and Nazism and communism. Is that human beings can be replaced basically in some way or another, or they can be modified, augmented, and they're fungible. You know.
Well, let me stop real quick, just for those that are listening, watching, whatever. Artifice is a word that you and I use, but it's
Yeah.
not something that I think maybe everybody listening is familiar with. So if you're wondering about the word artifice, I'm gonna save you the time of looking it up. The Oxford Dictionary describes artifice this way: clever or cunning devices or expedients, especially as used to trick or deceive others.
Yeah.
So that kind of that gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. If you weren't familiar, it's the player piano that plays itself in the background. It's the idea of creating a false version of something that's good enough to trick you into thinking it's real.
Yeah. And
At least at a basic level of what we're talking about.
well, I was thinking about this today in response to is we kind of need a John Henry moment, and I think the only way to do it is, and no one will do this because it's too involved, but what you need is to find an artist and feed everything they've done into AI, and then have the AI and the artist kind of disappear for, let's say, 10 years with their projects, and no one is talking in the outside world, and then show the art of that artist and show the art of that AI of that artist's past work at the same time after 10 years. And I guarantee you they will not be the same result. They won't even be the same field if this person's an artist, because in 10 years that's a different person. And all that
Oh yeah,
all
for sure,
but all that
for
A
sure.
but all that AI has is what it's seen of that person.
What it's been fed.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same result. It's going to be nothing like it. And I think that's what solves the problem. If you stop
Hmm.
feeding it, it's got nothing because it can't mimic you. It can well, it can't replace you. It can mimic you.
Right.
AI is not ever going to have the same experience because in 10 years that person's a completely different person. And there's
Right.
no telling what happens. I mean, maybe his family died in a car crash. Maybe he stubbed his toe wrong one day, and all this that sensory input changed something. You know what I mean? Like there's it
Hmm.
doesn't even have to be drastic. That's
Hmm.
what that's the conversation that has to be had. That I and maybe I'm not following the right groups, but that's not what's happening with AI. Or
No.
I'm not seeing these
Well, and I
conversations.
think, for me, I think the most egregious thing about it is like the expediency of it. Of like, it's all about, let's see how we can pump something out fast that doesn't require effort,
Hmm.
and that's
To
the opposite of what art.
trick
That's the
people
opposite of art.
into thinking it did have effort.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's the opposite of art. Art is you don't see the effort and then you see the result.
I will say this, like typically, I haven't always been one to support the idea of going on strike and all that. Although, like, I understand, like, if like conditions that some people have to work in at these companies, I understand like why you would say I deserve to be paid more,
Hmm.
especially when the people above you are making 400% more than what you're making. Like, I get that. I think one of the biggest parts of it that I did about this strike that resonates with me is those actors who are saying, look, they literally just want to steal our face.
Hmm.
And
What I
and
would
and
say
we'll
is,
and
I'm sorry.
the fact that they're saying no, we're not doing that. We're not going to let you do that. I think I can get behind that idea. I can support that idea. That's something we should rebel against.
Well, there's my thing. My thought. If we're gonna go into that actual topic, my thing is get out of the guilds, get out of the unions. The unions are just as bad. Unions have been ripping people off since their creation. I would
Hmm.
say instead of a strike, just get out. Don't work in
Well, yeah,
Hollywood.
and that's true. Say, what? Let's get out, because the reality is Hollywood isn't producing anything but garbage now anyway.
Well, then they're not gonna turn this. They're not gonna turn this loose.
No, of
They
course not.
and if they did, it would
So,
be very briefly, and they're gonna go back into it, find another way around it.
but yeah, if people were to say, what, I'm done. I'm done with Hollywood. I'm done with these guilds and unions and everything else, and just go back to making things in your backyard. The garage band punk, you know, approach to things and say, screw the companies, screw these industries, let's do it ourselves.
Hmm.
That's the best way to fight this kind of stuff, and it always has been. Is just saying, what, I'm nailing my 95 theses to the wall, and I'm going to go do something else. I'm done with this.
No,
This isn't. This isn't.
that's the great truth of our civilization we've got to do. And some people talk about building parallel economies. I'm not even talking about being parallel. I'm saying completely decentralized. Like
Hmm.
this has to break apart. Like you have to
Hmm.
be like, let it fail, let it fall. Let's go do our own thing. And if it's if it's punk and it's I mean you have the same equipment they use in your phone. Go in your
Yeah.
backyard and do it. Or
Yeah.
hey, you guys are a guild or whatever, or a union. You surely you guys can get that name list. There's like 30 people right next to you. Like, hey, let's go pool our resources. Let's move out of California. We'll go work regular jobs in a cheap place where it's cheap to live and use everything, all of our revenue, to fund it. I
Hmm.
mean, imagine what you could do if you're not paying to live in California.
Mm.
You get, especially if you guys get a team together, like 10 dudes that you guys are a professional quality, but you never got your shot. Maybe they're not Tom Cruise, but you know what I mean. And
Hmm.
these are guys that have been working for 10, 15 years for table scraps. Go do
And
something.
imagine how cool and how interesting the content would be when you're not beholden to 30 years worth of continuity to prop
Mm-hmm.
up some tentpole franchises that's already sinking and falling over and has been for decades, and you're not having to constantly deal with some executive somewhere that decides what you can and can't put in your movie.
Well, look at how much stuff's already public domain. Someone could literally make their own Winnie the Pooh movie that wasn't that horror movie. Someone could make a legit
Mm-hmm.
wholesome animated Winnie the Pooh movie that could make more money than Disney's made on Winnie the Pooh in like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
You could do something like that, or make a series of shorts with Winnie the Pooh. Keep it to the original.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on YouTube. I guarantee you, people will have their kids watch it. It's public domain now. You can do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
America is either, I say America because it's mostly, I mean, that's where Hollywood, we're the epicenter of art, except for Japan or whatever. People have got to find their frontier spirit again. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only thing. And then let's talk about it with our stuff, because we're doing short films, and I'm not going to work with a production company if they came knocking. I love working with our friend Colin
Mm-hmm.
Finlayson. Um, and
He's a talented dude that has a good eye for
hmm
composition. He knows what he's doing, and he's just going to get better and better at it.
and I know another guy, like I said, extremely talented artist that's worked in some of these circles, and he's getting the same way. Just talking with him, offline, and he's like, "Hey, these theater companies are destroying people. Like even when it's live action, like they're still
Mm-hmm.
just draining people as their life source." But here's the thing, man, comics. This stuff started in comics a while back too, where like people are like, why would I want to work on a 50, 60-year-old character that my contribute it's going to be reset next year when I'm done with it. I am chained to all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff. It's not even the lore that you're chained to. It's the company's idiocy. When and here's the other thing, you can't make art with that stuff anymore because everything gets rebooted. Nothing matters. and
Mm-hmm.
and people can just pick it up and keep going with it. It's like, no, you need stakes. You need your character to be born, live, and die. That's when you'll actually. That's why
Yeah.
manga takes its risks.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, like it's got to be the Wild West again. Is really how
hmm
it's got to be.
I've heard people
And
talk about
you,
the Iron Age and that kind of stuff, and that's
yeah.
a good. I don't know. I'm not saying we're affiliated with that because we're not affiliated with anybody other than Legacy Comics, which is our publisher. But I like that. What I've heard of the idea behind it. That's a good idea. It's not as glitzy as gold or silver, but it's something you can use to forge something heavy that
Yeah,
lasts.
you can break a skull with it.
Yeah, you can build things that last with
Right,
iron.
right. Well, the and I think that what we really are seeing, and it started a long time ago, but it's come into such pristine clarity lately. We see how the Flash movie just
Tanked.
nosedived. We've seen how the new Indiana Jones movie, but then you've got movies like that Sound of Freedom
hmm
that was a low budget thing,
That Disney owned at one
passion
point.
project. Yeah, Disney owned it and wouldn't release it. They tried to they tried to get Netflix to to produce it, and they wouldn't, or to set to distribute it. I guess they wouldn't. So they just went directly to people and said, "Hey, pre-order tickets."
hmm
They bought the rights to their own movie, and then went and told people, "Hey, just buy tickets online. Go ahead and
hmm
pre-order your tickets." And now it's been one of the most successful movies of the summer, and it's not making like Top Gun money, but it didn't cost Top Gun money to make either.
It turned a profit,
And
which is all that matters.
yeah, exactly. And I think that we're going to see more and more of these tentpole blockbusters that people just don't want to see.
hmm
I'm tired. I don't need to see another 80-year-old man de-aged and time traveling. I don't need to see another multiverse. And that's everything's multiverse, and it's all like I'm tired of it, and apparently I'm not the only one because people are not going to see these movies.
Yeah, and that's the whole concept we could do is it's either time travel or multiverse. Time travel goes back, multiverse
Mm-hmm.
goes wide. None of it goes forward.
Right.
Yeah, none of it's all afraid to go forward and have stakes because when you have multiverse, I mean, it's like I'm not gonna go down a rabbit hole, but I never cared for Spider Verse. I saw the first one, I didn't like it. I'm not seeing the second one because I don't care. Like to me, seeing a billion Spider Man makes Spider Man cheap, especially when it's every design is we'll throw a shirt or a hoodie or a t shoe or tennis shoes on him, and suddenly he's a different Spider-Man. It's like what a lazy character design. Like Miles Morales is one of the laziest characters ever created. They even gave him Spider-Man's old girlfriend who died. Like, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm not. Like I said, I'm not gonna go to this, but like, we need to stop pretending that 2099 was a good series. It wasn't bad. Like, it was a cool idea, but it wasn't a good comic series.
The only one out of all of those that I really enjoyed and actually collected was the Ghost Rider one because it was really gritty artwork.
Yeah, well, it also works with Ghost Rider because he is an
right.
eternal spirit that's been throughout time.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I know, I agree with you, and like, I think the big deal for me is that, you know, I just the stuff that I'm most excited about. Like right now, I'm really excited to see that Rebel Moon that Zack Snyder's working on because it's an original property.
Yeah, he literally said he wrote a Star Wars script and then couldn't do it. So he's like, well, I'll just turn it into my own thing, and I'm sure it'll have huge Star Wars influence from it. But I'd rather have a step. I'd rather have Star Wars and then a step away from it than Star Wars vertical and horizontal or back. Let's go forward.
Yeah, I'm sure, like all the images I've seen so far, it looks cool.
It looks better than the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, there's a movie coming out, and I don't want to say the wrong title, but it's about a.
Is it Skinamarink 2?
No, it's a sci-fi movie, and it's from the guy who directed Rogue One. And the trailer for it actually looked really interesting.
It's not that. Is it that AI one?
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
It's got Denzel's son in it.
I didn't realize that's who it was, but it's called The Creator.
That's it. Yep.
And it looked really good. Like the trailer for it looked like it had a very. It gave me some of the Neil Blomkamp vibes, like District 9. Elysium type vibes. It looks good. But yeah, like I miss the days when we saw original movies that weren't remakes, reboots, the 1000th iteration of something. I really miss creativity.
Yeah, it's not being allowed, and I refuse a lot of the a lot of people like on the right wing culture war stuff or art, they say like, well, we're just our culture can't do it. We can't create new things. We're not inspired. Like I don't think that's true. Like I've seen.
No.
I think the ideas just aren't being allowed at the top level, because I've seen guys. I've seen everything from technical. Now, first of all, creativity, pure creativity, has always been hard to find. It's always been hard.
Of course.
But people have that capacity. Like human beings haven't changed despite our culture.
No.
And Japan proves that. Like
yeah, well, and the reality is you can go on something like DeviantArt or Instagram or whatever, and you can find in 3 minutes you can find 20 artists that are better.
Well, yeah, that's technical art. Yeah, that's technical art, and I agree with you. I guess I'm saying
the reality is like they're creating stuff that's unique. They've got their own characters. They've got their own worlds, and that stuff isn't selling.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the network or the platform to do it. But it's better than so much of what we're being fed and told this is what you should pay for.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If we at least started with that step, we could keep going up. You know, you didn't get Prince without getting like Chuck Berry and some of the guys that could barely play guitar, and they were playing at blues bars right after they just got out of the fields that day from sharecropping. Those guys that were good but not great, and then you'd have a few guys who were like so good they didn't stay there, and it grew, and then it grows and grows, you get a foot up, and you get someone like Prince, who I'm saying all that to say he surpassed all those genres because he took from all the best of the best of those genres. But you got to build those things first. So no, you're absolutely right. I 100% agree. Like there's guys online that are better than the guys than the professionals. And that's proven over and over and over and over again. And that's the thing. Like it doesn't take much, man. I think people just need to get their punk rock and frontier spirit back, and just go do it, and go be
Mm-hmm.
and do brazenly creative things, and don't be afraid for it to be quote unquote low quality. Like, you know how many
Yeah.
records I'd rather listen to that don't sound as good as Taylor Swift than listen to her?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like those old Misfit albums.
Yeah.
I mean, they recorded, the quality is terrible, but man, the energy
Mm-hmm.
and the dangerousness of it, like it felt so raw and fresh for that time, and it still does.
Mm-hmm. What's gonna happen? Somebody on YouTube that doesn't do what you do is gonna rip you and be like, "Oh, the quality's bad," or "You should have recorded it like this," or "You should have drawn it like this." And it's like, dude, Frank Miller is either the best artist of all time or the worst artist ever, depending on the book that he's working on. But he's still Frank Miller. It,
Exactly.
take a stab. It might be great, it might be terrible, but it's him. And so a lot of people hated how he
Right.
drew Batman because he drew him so
Mm-hmm.
blocky and he drew him like Wolverine. But
At least he had a unique vision, though,
yeah, I loved it, and
and was not afraid to
hmm
and has never been afraid, whether people liked it or not, to execute his vision.
well, and there's just going back to the kind of uncanny valley idea. To me, at least, for art of all types, there's layers of things where like something can be objectively bad, and then something can be magnificently good, technically.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all this room in the middle, and it's almost like the closer you get to the really good, until you get there, it's almost better to be here. Does that make sense? Because like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people like they think it's kind of the uncanny valley thing, and like this goes back to my stuff about comics. Is like everything's super digital, everything's kind of proportioned perfectly, but it's not good. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll get their color theory down, they'll get their whatever down, like their lines, but it looks like it was made on a computer. Going back to AI art, like it's better quality than most humans can draw, but it's not like Michelangelo. So it's in
Mm-hmm.
this weird because that's literally how the uncanny valley is described. It's like it's close to real, but it's not. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it was off, it would be fine, and if it was real, it would be fine. But since it's between them, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's how a
Yeah,
lot. That's how a
exactly.
lot of art is in like music. Like you get like guys on YouTube that their record sounds like some metalcore gent punk crap, but it's good. All their frequencies are in the right place. And it sounds mixed well, but it's crap.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it was made by a guy on YouTube who knows how to mix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think a lot of it comes from just, you know we've been fed this for so long that I think there's the sad thing is that there's an appetite for this stuff. Like there's an audience that has tasted this garbage for so long that they don't actually know the difference. Like they don't know what good real stuff tastes like,
Yeah.
and then they discover something from decades before, it's like a life changing experience for them because they had actually had an appetite for this mass produced mess, and then they taste the. It's like if you'd only ever had a
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's burger like for your entire life, and then all of a sudden you get like one of those big huge steakhouse burgers from some hole in the wall place that knows how to cook and has
Mm-hmm.
big slabs of, and like you realize, oh, this is what a burger is.
Yeah. Some
Not this.
fat guy named Tiny is cooking it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and it the bun smells like cigarettes, but it tastes great.
So does the waitress. Um, and we touched on this a little bit. I did a blog on Road to Apollyon 20XX about simulacra and simulacrum, and we gave that example before. The strawberry that's picked, and then it eventually becomes like a strawberry
Mm-hmm.
flavored candy, and the kid that grew up on the candy doesn't know what a strawberry tastes like. But it's more
Right.
important than that because a lot of people that theorize that stuff aren't spiritual, and they
Mm-hmm.
they miss that side of things. And they're not artists, and there's something about art that is sacred, and if you don't believe that, then just lay on the track of AI. That's all it is. If you
Mm-hmm.
and the idea of expressing yourself isn't gonna cut it, because what are you expressing?
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Give me a title for it. If you can't, if it's just materialism, if it's just synapses, lay on the track of AI, you know, or you can stand and fight. And
Mm-hmm.
if it's outrunning it, kind of like Superman, if you're running faster than the AI train, which is one way. Like I said, you can outpace it. It's not hard. You just have to be creative. Or if it's punching it like Superman and taking it off the rails.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I would suggest not feeding it. Especially,
Yeah, I
I'd
agree.
say get out of Hollywood, get out of these big things, get out of Marvel and DC, get out of Disney,
Yeah, starve them.
and go do something else
Mm-hmm.
because they're not going to change. I don't see
No.
that ever happening. But you can build a different one, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of them, but the Daily Wire has proved that they can put out movies, at least documentaries, get more clicks than Disney can.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take that kind of a big setup, and Twitter's kind of looking like that. Like Twitter's doing all these deals with all these different guys, and they'll just like, hey, throw your whole movie up here.
Yep.
We'll give you revenue for it. There's hope.
Oh yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
stuff's got to come through the cracks, but you also got to have people with sledgehammers beating those cracks open.
Right.
Um, and I hate to say this, but I ascribe more with art to the great man theory than I do of a collective theory, or a society theory, because like the community thing doesn't work. It breaks apart into backbiting and stupidity because people lie to each other for clicks. It's this idea of the indie comics community, indie music community. What it takes is people doing big, bold things, succeeding, that opens the door for other people doing big, bold things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna be 1,000 little people holding hands walking through it.
No.
That's not
Now
how it
that
works.
that's not to say that there can't be mutual respect. That's not to say
But
that
there
you
has
can't
to be
share somebody
competition.
else's. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's we're not in this to all like you said, kumbaya our way into success. I want to sell more than you. I want to be better than
Mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah, and you should
Yeah,
want to be better than
I
me.
must
Yeah.
break you.
Yeah, and you should want the same thing, because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
beneficial for everybody.
exactly.
But that's how it always is, though. I mean, remember, like if we look at musical phases, I mean, kind of like the rockabilly stuff from before that, it was like Elvis, Buddy Holly, Big Bopper. Um, you can name a few on your hand, is what I'm saying. Ricky
Hmm.
Valley, who's the killer? Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think the only example of the community thing that really did kind of work to a degree in music was the outlaw country
yeah,
scene in the
but they
70s.
all came from different places, and they all
Mm-hmm.
beat out their local to get there.
Mm-hmm.
They were the best of the
Mm-hmm.
best.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same with the Big Four and '80s
Mm-hmm.
metal. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Big Four and grunge.
Mm-hmm.
It's always something like that.
Yeah,
People, yeah,
you have to put down Vitology and all some of those other albums that came out before Temple of the Dog can happen. Like
it's
you have to have your success on your own with all
mm-hmm.
your, and then then maybe a
Cause Temple of
collaboration.
the Dog was already a thing. It was already a whole album that no one cared about. And then
Yep,
once everything broke, then
yeah,
no one knew who Mudhoney was before Nirvana
right.
hit. No one knew who the Meat Puppets were until Unplugged. but or What's funny is I just watched an interview with Billy Corgan talking about that. He's like, he said, I always saw it as a competition, but none of the Seattle guys liked competitions. um, 'Cause
Cowards usually don't.
he was from Chicago. He's like, it was just different there. No, I didn't like anybody in
Yeah.
Chicago. But a lot of people don't want to admit that. A lot of people don't want to admit that you need to, especially if you're dudes, you got to have respect for each other. And the only way to have respect for each other is to try to outdo one another.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, I don't know. Like, it's a weird place. I see the cracks coming, but it's I never thought what you and I are doing, which is comics, novels, music, video games, name it, could have an idea of working because everything. But I'm like, because the internet was just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Now it's like, man, the cracks are showing. Like now is the time to drop big, huge
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
I agree.
yeah, and people know the difference between artifice and art inherently. They know when they see
Mm-hmm.
something that. I mean, did you see some guy tried to enter like the Ripaverse ISOM art challenge with AI art?
No, I didn't see that.
It's like I think he got spotted because the thumb had a third digit. The dude has spent so much time trying to make it not look like AI art. Did you get to just draw?
Mm.
It's like, what are you gonna do, man? What if someone expects you to work? Like, are you just gonna lie? Like,
Right. Like, what do you think? Yeah. Because I never thought I'd get this far.
yeah, right. But we've done it before briefly. But we found a nice use for AI art, which is spitting ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
How would this and this and this give me a frame idea, and then completely redo it?
Yeah.
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 Um, that's the future. You've got to work with it. That's how you beat
Mm-hmm.
it. If you can train it and you control it, then you've beaten it.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't just keep feeding it and let it get big enough to eat its way out of its cage.
Yeah, it's the plant from Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you can,
feed me,
yeah,
Seymour.
if you control it, then you can have a garden of this stuff that works for you. But you let it boss
And
you
you feed
around,
other people to it.
yeah. If you let it boss you around, you know. But
Right.
it does bother me. And I've never. I think you and I are a little too old to be kind of swayed by this
Just
kind of
in
stuff.
general.
Yeah, just in general. It does worry me that some kids that grow up on TikTok and stuff are going to see how people react that did build a fake persona, but then they adopt it as a real persona.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Yep. Yep.
that will happen because people did that with music and everything else. But I don't have any more real thoughts on that other than like the same thing we've kind of said before, which is artists will outpace this. And hey guys, if you're an artist, now's the time to like Rocky montage train, man, and consistently outdo yourself. Like art,
And
yeah.
I'll say this too. Um, we're always looking for people like you.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that's this kind of stuff that we're talking about speaks to you and you have something that you can bring to the table, get in touch with us. We'll see what you got. We'll see, and if it's up to snuff, like if it's what it should be, if it's at the level it should be, and it's real, it's not this fake stuff, and it's there, man. We might work with you.
Mm-hmm. We especially need artists because we've got like
We need
yeah, we've
artists.
got all these series ready to go. We just gotta get someone to draw them, other than Josh.
Hmm. Yeah, I can only draw so much. I need to be drawing with one hand, drawing with the other hand,
Yeah,
drawing with my toes.
there's some 12-year-old Asian kid that can probably do that right now.
Oh, I'm sure he should call us, or
Yeah,
he or she
yeah.
should call us.
He's probably playing drums too at the same time.
And fighting Godzilla.
But yeah, um, we got a lot of stuff coming out, guys. I'm working on something called Apollyon 20XX Revelations, which is a sequel to Lamentations. It's a different flavor. It's a little more academic in its thought, like someone approaching the world that way and trying to basically put it in order. Um, Kind of like a behind the scenes of how the world works. Josh is almost done with Live Not by Lies. I think he's on the last
Mm-hmm.
issue, the last not issue, but the last chapter. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll start on Kolga. The band just put out some music. We're gonna put out a whole lot more soon. We've got the novel. We
Mm-hmm.
just gotta. I mean, it's done. We just gotta decide what we want to do with it. We're gonna gauge a lot of this stuff, gauge interest. Video game is 1/4 of the way done, I think, or maybe 1/3.
I think you're closer to a third the way you were talking the other day.
Yeah, I got 4 dungeons. A third. It's a third of the way. Way better than I thought. Um,
No, you're not.
yeah, right. We've got short films coming this year. I mean, we want to do everything. So if there's anyone, especially if we can find a rival, if there's any other company or guys doing anything that rivals this, let us know. We'd love to know you exist.
Yeah, for sure.
Because right now, if
Like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. Although if you're this far along in it, you probably have.
yeah, but we plan to add more to the roster soon.
Yep.
All right, we'll see you next time.